Okay, this is Mrs. Pond, and we're talking about what's my sine cosine lab, and I'm at number 12 now. So from 12 to 20 is you're going to find possible formulas for the trigonometric functions, and we're going to go through this and step by step for each one of these. And I want you to be careful of what they call the variables. Like in here, it's t and y, or t and f of t, t and g of t. So I want to make sure that when you do your equation that you keep that in mind. And remember, we're going to use sine, cosine, negative sine, or negative cosine. I've done numerous videos on this. So when we go to do these, before you even start, I want you to do, looks like amplitude, frequency, period, midline. So I'm going to stack and rack these two because they're both in the screen. So I'm going to do looks like amplitude, frequency, period, and midline. I'm going to do this as well for number 13. Looks like amplitude, frequency, period, and midline. Please do not use AFPM. Just write it just like that. Please use equal signs, not dashes, because it looks like negative signs. Okay, so again, when you look at these, I always want you to look at the y-axis because we don't need to do any shifts. You can write these in numerous different ways, but we're going to go there. And then when you look at it, I'm going to have you start what it's doing, kind of follow it and end where you go like that. That kind of helps out. So this one is not starting in the middle, it's starting high. So this is going to look like cosine because sine starts at midline, cosine starts high. And if it's reflected over the x-axis, it's just the opposite. You always do the midline first. So I'm going to come here and figure out the midline. Well, this point is 2, -3. So it looks like it's coming down to -3. So that must mean, because this is the middle, that it goes up to +3. So 3 plus a -3 divided by 2 is 0 divided by 2, or y equals 0. Yes, I want to see that. Please make sure you check, and that's in the middle. It looks good to me. Then come up to your amplitude. And you take your amplitude as your high minus your midline, or midline minus your low. Either way, it's going to come out to 3. Now, because this is a graph, your frequency is in your equation, your period's on your graph. So we're going to look at the period, and I said, okay, if this is 2, -3, and it ends here at 4, 4 is my period, and it equals 2 pi over my frequency. If you cross multiply, these two change places, your 4 and your frequency, so it comes out to be 2 pi over 4 or pi over 2. That's my frequency. Now I've got this in order. The only thing that's not going to be in there is your period, so you're going to go through and say f of t. Or you could have said y, because I did say y, but f of t equals, first of all, your amplitude comes first, then your trig function, cosine, parentheses, your frequency, then your variable, and your variable in this case, I covered it up, but is a t. Please make sure you do that. And since I did not raise it up at all, that's going to be it. That's going to be the equation of this graph, which I love doing. It's kind of cool. All right, let's look at the second one. I've got it all set up, and I'm looking at my y-axis, so I'm going to see where my graph started. I'm going to follow it all the way through. This makes it nice. And I see that it's not starting in the middle or at my midline, so that takes sine and negative sine right out of the equation. So it's starting low, so this looks like negative cosine. Okay? Come down for your midline. It looks like, because this is the 3 pi 2, this is y equals 2 is my midline. So this is 0, so this must go up to 4. So 0 plus 4 divided by 2 is y equals 2. So there's my midline. My amplitude is high minus my midline. So there's my 2. Yes, I want to see that. Again, my frequency and period are inverses of each other, or reciprocals of each other, I should say, not inverses, reciprocals. So here I know my graph ends all the way over at 4 pi. So my period is 2 pi over my frequency equals 4 pi. Again, these two will shift places. So 2 pi over 4 pi, I'll do the work here, is the pi's cancel out, so I say thanks for playing. My frequency is 1/2. And again, because they're reciprocals of each other, my period and my frequency, if my frequency doesn't have pi in it, my period will, and vice versa. Okay, so now here's my equation. This one's g of t. equals my amplitude, but don't forget the negative, so I have -2 cosine. My frequency comes next, my variable, which is a t, and this one has been raised up 2. So this one has been reflected, stretched by 2, and then it's also been stretched horizontally because I only see half of it, and my midline, so I've been shifted up 2. So that's what's happened to that one. Okay, so that's 12 and 13. Let's see if we can do 2 more on this video. All right, so here I have this graph. It looks really weird. And before I start, I'm going to set up looks like. I'm going to do them for both. Amplitude, frequency, period, midline. For both of these, I'm going to set it up. Looks like amplitude, frequency, period, midline. This really does work, guys, so that's why I'm doing it. So I look at this one right here. So this one's a little bit different, and I look at my y-axis like Mrs. Pond said, I'm going to trace this. So I came up here, and she said it always ends up here, but I'm like, that looks weird to me. I only see half of it. So if I were to keep going, it'd look like this, and this looks like it's starting in the middle. So I'm just going to extend this line here. So if I were to trace it, this would be the end of my curve, okay? I'm like, all right, that's good to know. So it looks like it's starting in the middle, so I'm going to say it looks like sine. Looks like a sine curve to me, okay? My midline is high plus my low divided by 2. 0 divided by 2 is y equals 0, which this is what this looks like. Y equals 0 is my midline. So I always put it there to make sure it looks right. My amplitude is high minus my midline, so that's 4. Okay, now since it's a graph, I've got to do my period. So my period is going to be, well, how long does it take me to see the whole thing? So if this is 1/4, this must be 1/2, 3/4. So this must end up at 1. So my period is 1, which equals 2 pi over my frequency. These two switch places, so my frequency is 2 pi. I know that's a little weird because you only saw part of the curve, but that helps you out. So I'm going to put what this is right underneath it. So I've got y equals, ready, 4, because my amplitude goes first, sine, okay. Actually, this is going to be g of t equals, I made a mistake. I'm going to put it over here too because it looks like it's squishy down there. So I'm going to say h of t equals 4 sine. Oh man, I keep running out of room. Let's try another spot. Right here, I'm just going to shorten this up. Ready? H of t equals 4 sine. My frequency is 2 pi, and it's a t there, and it's not going to be adding anything at the end. So that is my equation. I just barely got that in there. I'm running out of room here. Okay. Now the last one I want to do in this video is number 15. I will make another video for the other ones. I'm just trying to not make it too long. Is this equation here. So again, I look at my y, I take it, what it's doing, and I'm going to trace it until it comes back. That looks weird to me. I want to kind of do this here because this is a dotted line. It's not real dark. That looks like the middle. This looks like it's starting at the middle and it's going down then up. So this looks like negative sine to me. All right. I do my midline, and it looks like this is a 0.94. So this is a 9 here, and this is 4 up here. So my midline is going to be 0 plus 4, high plus my low divided by 2. So it's y equals 2. So that's what this middle is. My amplitude is high minus my midline. So that'll be 2 as well. My period is a little weird because here, 3/4 of the way, it's 9. So if I were to kind of see how this is chunked up, this must be 3, 6, 9, and 12. So it took me 12 to see my whole curve, which equals 2 pi over my frequency. Flip their places, so it's going to be pi over 6. All right. So this equation right here is going to be, and don't forget the negative because it's been inverted, is going to be, all right, this one is a y. I don't see anything else here. So y equals -2 sine pi over 6 t. That's a 6. Sorry, guys. That looks weird. pi over 6. Okay, we'll try that one more time. Pi over 6 t, all right, plus 2. So it's negative 2 pi over 6. Oh, it's not a t even. All right, you can tell this is the last one I got to do on this video. One more time. It's got a variable of theta. Theta's right here. I got to be careful of that. So that's a big deal. So negative 2 sine, all right, my frequency is pi over 6 theta plus 2. There we go. We finally got that right. That's my equation. So I hope that helped with those 4, and I'll do a video with the remainder.